Good Tuesday afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another video. And today's going to be a very special video for me because I'm going to highlight 10 90s horror movies that got me into horror movies, plus 10 of my favorite family-friendly Halloween movies. Now, I just literally made this list up, and it was very difficult to put together, especially the family-friendly movies. But I think I picked some pretty good movies. So, all these movies were released in between 1990 and 1999. I was born in 89, so these movies defined my childhood. So let's go ahead and get started with 10 movies that I loved in the horror genre when I was a kid. So these are like your slashers and alien creature features. Let's get started with The Faculty. This was released in 1998, I want to say. And this is a clever take on Invasion of the Body Snatchers, where aliens take over this high school in Ohio. So the people left, which are 6 students, they have to stop the alien invasion. Very, very good sci-fi movie with a blend of horror. So you have up-and-coming stars like Josh Hartnett, Elijah Wood, Robert Patrick's in here, Jordana Brewster's in here, Clea Duvall's in here, even Usher Raymond, of all people, are in here. So, if you haven't seen this, I definitely recommend it. It's a really fun movie that came out well during the Scream era. So that was The Faculty. The next movie I want to talk about is my Halloween movie pick, and that is Halloween H2O, 20 Years Later. This was also released in 1998, and this picks up 20 years after the original events of Halloween. So, Laurie Strode is now headmistress at a private school in California, but Michael Myers is on her trail. So, of course, he wants to try and destroy her once and for all. But Laurie decapitates him at the very end of the movie, which really would have ended up being a great ending for their story. Obviously, that didn't happen with Halloween Resurrection, but this is a very solid sequel that was made in the 90s. Halloween H2O. The next movie I'd like to talk about is Sleepy Hollow. This movie came out in 1999, so barely a 2000s movie, but this stars Johnny Depp and Christina Ricci. And this is just a modernized retelling of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. And Tim Burton directed this. And it's probably one of his darkest movies that I've ever seen, besides the 2 Batman movies he directed. But very underrated movie. I haven't actually seen it in a while. I might watch it sometime soon, but while making this video, I had to pick a movie out, so I decided to pick this one. But this is a really decent movie that's perfect for this time of year. That was Sleepy Hollow. The next movie I'd like to talk about is The Sixth Sense, released in the same year as Sleepy Hollow. This is technically a psychological thriller with horror aspects in it, and it's basically a ghost story. Everybody knows what this movie is, so it's about like this child psychologist who helps out like a little boy with his troubles of seeing dead people. If you haven't seen this movie, which, what are you doing? The major twist is that Bruce Willis was dead the entire time. When I first saw this, I was like, what? Because, I mean, one of his former patients breaks into his house and shoots him. And then that's where this movie starts. You get a clue that he may have survived. But when that twist comes, there's a lot to this movie, but it is so well done. The clues are everything that he sees red gives you a clue that that represents blood. There's like a red doorknob. His wife always wears like a red sweater. And I can't highly recommend this movie enough. It's a perfect movie, in my opinion. It's definitely one of M. Night Shyamalan's best. Don't know what happened to that guy, but I want more movies like this from him. One of my favorites by him, if not my favorites by him, that was The Sixth Sense. And the next movie is going to be the Mac Daddy that literally introduced me to horror, Scream, 1996. We all know what this movie is. It's Wes Craven's modern take on the slasher genre. So, it starts with Drew Barrymore, where she is like this lonely girl, just making popcorn and about ready to start a horror movie. So she starts getting these mysterious calls. These calls get worse and worse. These first 15 minutes are done masterfully, especially with its brutality. So, another perfect 90s horror film that started off one of my all-time favorite franchises to this day. So, of course, Neve Campbell is Sidney Prescott, one of my favorite Final Girls. Turns out there are two killers out to get her. So, highly recommend this movie. That was Scream. The final movie that I have physically, that I got like a couple more here that I'll post a graphic. This one was kind of cheating, but I'm going to put Anaconda on this list. Hear me out. This is technically a creature feature, but it is definitely terrifying. Because it's about like this film crew that go through the Amazon rainforest and they try to find this mysterious tribe called the Shirishama, but they are hunted by a man-eating anaconda. One of my favorite movies growing up. I watch this movie constantly. Yes, it is silly, but it is a really fun movie. Highly enjoy it. And that was Anaconda. So that was 6 physical movies. I'll have 4 more to talk about briefly. The first one I want to talk about is Idle Hands. Now, this movie stars Devon Sawa, Seth Green, and Jessica Alba. And basically, it's kind of like a stoner comedy where Devon Sawa's hands get possessed and they become killer. This one was a very fun movie. I watched it periodically, so I had to add it to this list. That was Idle Hands. The next movie I want to add is I Know What You Did Last Summer, and the same tradition as Scream. This is a slasher, but it's about like these 4 youths who accidentally kill a man, and they have to keep a secret about it until the 4 kids get mysterious notes from the man they allegedly kill. A really fun 90's horror movie. So, I'm going to cheat and add one more here, but the next movie I want to talk about is Bride of Chucky. This is the 4th entry in the Child's Play franchise. And this is basically a play on Bride of Frankenstein. So Chucky hunts down his ex-girlfriend, Tiffany, and he kills her, and he forces her to marry him, and then they go on a bloody rampage. This is one of my favorite Child's Play movies, if not my favorite one. So, another really good one. And one more movie I want to add before I talk about this last movie. That one is Urban Legend. So, another Scream era slasher where this killer hunts these teens and kills them in urban legend fashion. That's all I have to say about that movie. So, another very underrated film that I watch here and there. In fact, I think I may have watched the first one like a few months ago this year. So, yeah, that was Urban Legend. And the final movie I want to talk about, it's not one of my personal favorites, but it is a very popular 90's horror film. That is The Blair Witch Project. So, this is notorious for being one of the most terrifying movies of all time. And it's basically about like this film crew who tries to find the legend of the Blair Witch. But they get lost in the woods, and it's kind of like a psychological horror. There's no jump scares, but the scares are all in your head because you have to imagine what's even going on. Now, I'm very mixed on the way this movie ends because I think it's kind of dumb. But essentially, the legend of the Blair Witch is that whoever she kills, she has the person who loves the victim the most face the corner while she kills the other person. I never knew that until I watched a few shows on it, but I just had to add this movie because um, it is a basic 90s horror film. And those are the 11 90s horror films that got me into horror. And now for my second part, and I'm probably just going to breeze through these. These are going to be 10 favorite family-friendly Halloween movies. So, this was a very tough list to make, but I think I got a good list. So I'm going to start with, this is another cheat, but it technically has some horror aspects. The Page Master. This got released in, I think, 1993. It stars Macaulay Culkin as this shy kid who gets lost at a library one rainy night, and it gets transported throughout fantasy, horror, and action literature. The scene I want to point out, though, is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and the horror section. But I watch this movie all the time, and it's one of my favorites. That was The Page Master. The next movie I want to talk about is going to be Hocus Pocus. Yes, the classic Halloween movie. Nothing more to say here. It's about these three witches who get executed during the Salem witch trials. Fast forward 300 years in the future, the black flame candle is lit, and they are resurrected. Very, very good family Halloween film. Hocus Pocus. The last movie I have physically, Nightmare Before Christmas. Is it a Halloween movie or a Christmas movie? It's a Halloween movie because this takes place throughout like Halloween Town and Christmas Town. It's about Jack Skellington becoming the new Santa Claus after Santa Claus is kidnapped by Boogie Oogie Oogie. I watch this all the time, and it's a very beautiful stop animation flick. The Nightmare Before Christmas. So I got 7 more movies to talk about, and they're all going to be pasted. So the next movie I want to talk about is Casper. Another favorite of mine that stars Bill Pullman, Christina Ricci, and they're a father and daughter who go to like this house, and they don't know that it's haunted, but they meet Casper the Friendly Ghost and his 3 uncles. And I do have fun with this. It's not known to be a great movie, but I dig it. That was Casper. The next movie I want to talk about is Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. My all-time favorite Scooby-Doo animated film. This is one of the scariest Scooby-Doo films ever because it actually goes well into horror territory. Scooby and the gang go to this island, and they get a rich history, but they don't know that it's full of zombies, and the owner is a crazed cat god. Very, very good Scooby-Doo movie. Speaking of Scooby-Doo, I added another one. That was Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost. This is more of like a play on witchcraft, and this takes place mostly in Massachusetts, and they're literally out there to see. They're literally there to solve the mystery to see who the actual witch is. Turns out it's this guy who is a distant relative of Sarah Ravencroft. And you have to talk about like the addition of the Hex Girls. But that was Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost. Moving right along, I added Ernest Scared Stupid. Yeah. But this is the Ernest Halloween movie, of course. And what I remember about it is that there's this witch that controls trolls or something, and he meets these two kids and they try to destroy the trolls with milk. Yeah, that's what I remember of it. That was Ernest Scared Stupid. Yeah. But I have 3 more movies on here, and they're all Disney Channel movies because I couldn't think of anything else. This next one is Halloween Town. Now I haven't actually, well, I may have sat down and watched it a couple of years ago, but I really don't remember this as a kid. But it's about like this family whose grandma is a witch, and she has direct access to Halloween Town, which is a town that celebrates Halloween day in and day out. So that's all I can tell you. The next one I want to talk about is Under Wraps. And all I remember about it, it's like a mummy trying to fit in with society. And the final movie I have to talk about is Don't Look Under the Bed. And what I remember about this movie, it's about these 3 kids trying to avoid being scared by the boogeyman and other worldly creatures under their bed. That's all I remember. Now, I could have thought of a lot of other movies, but this would have gone on forever and ever. So, these are the 21 movies that I grew up on. I'll have one more video to film this week. That's going to be my October book haul. I'll try and film that tomorrow. And then I'll finally have my Halloween movie ranking on Halloween. And then after that, I'll do the movies I watch in October. So I still got quite a... Okay. That was an intrusion of my mall, but that's the end of this video. I'll see you tomorrow. Adios. Peace. That was a chaotic ending.